Hello friends, this is Agonea, and I am doing another Lemuria playthrough in late age. So on the channel there is one of my very first learnings, but there was another game that opened up among some two other players that I wanted to join in as well. So we are doing a second Lemuria playthrough. So I've learned some things from my first game, but that is still active, and so I've wanted to go ahead and record this as well. Let's go ahead and jump into the first game. So there are two players as well, besides myself. Let's jump in to look at the nations right quick. So we have myself, Agnea, playing Gladriel as Lemuria, trying out a different pretender, and at the very end of both playthroughs, want to see about where I really like to take pretender design. In the first series I'm doing, I went more of already structured and try to explain reasonings why you want to pick it. This one, changing up a few things to see how it changes with the nation. We also have Hold the Garlic Please, playing Ulm, their first time playing Ulm, I think, in late age. And the Bobs from our other Atlantis game, they are really enjoying their Atlantis and they're wanting to stick with it. We have 3 AI with difficult AI. Similar to the last game, we are playing with 4 thrones to victory, with the Cataclysm set at 90. So, let's look at how the world is structured. So, similar to the other game, we'll pretend like it's not. This maybe everyone's first time watching this one. Our first turn with Lemuria is going to be very quick. We're not doing a prophet. I really want a Holy 4, so I'm holding back with bringing a prophet with my first Centurion. The other reason is I don't want to push Dominion too much. Even though it may help with Ghost, I want to get some of the gold income around the cap circle, so holding off on that. And what I'm doing with my mage is make a second Centurion. Now we could go ahead and expand with this first party. It's very strong for first party expansions, but I like having 2 Centurions. At 1, they cover each other, because not only do they have a fear aura, but if one goes down, being able to keep pushing through. But second off, I like to put my Centurions further up to kind of save these ghosts to fill into the back. So I'm holding back on this. We're already seeing a great province to south. Unfortunately, already has our Dominion in, but this might be something that we are shooting for. And we have 2 very close thrones as well. So again, 4 thrones to victory, but we will see how this plays out. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to turn 2. As other people have prophetized and we brought in those Centurions. So we have these 2 Centurions. Looks like we are going to go ahead and move into that province. Yes, has Dominion. No death yet, but that's just going to be a matter of time. And then we have a decent other. So 1 over 13,000, and then another one close to 10 as well. So, with our second turn rolling in, we didn't have much ghost spawn, and so these 2 spawn plus more. I want to leave ghost in for our second expansion party, because we only have this one to call in, and plus with those 2 Centurions. We will have next turn spawn, and this turn spawn at the end, and the next turn will be all the ghosts we get for that next expansion party. The way that we're kind of setting up, so we first check to see, alright, they have some heavy infantry, but they also have crossbowmen, and I really want them to pepper themselves, especially when we hit their armies and hoping there's not a priest. So the way I'm kind of structuring this attack is having 2 Centurions stacked. Since they're size 2, you can have 3 in a square, and then having faster ghost. So they have combat speed 12 with javelins. Now, one thing to mention, if you have not seen the kind of the summary of the units, is all these spectral weapons are magic in nature, but also they do an MR check for half damage. But I have these to be racing up and to be throwing their javelins, and these filling in right behind the slower ones. That's really the biggest difference. I think they have more hit points, 10 to 8, but these are faster. So, and have these fill in. So we're going to be hitting this one. If they were a priest, I'd like to pull back, or if we could see they had a priest, I'd pull back further. That's about it. The other thing that's happening is our acolyte is our thaumaturge is creating an acolyte for we can push those 2 centurions around. So we want to keep our expansion parties with 2 centurions at a given time. So we'll go ahead and skip to the next turn. Last thing I'll note, in case you're not aware of Lemuria, what your main source is, you get 9 death gems per turn, but you also get death gems per temple, capped at Dominion strength per turn as well. So our Dominion strength is 7, so we theoretically get 7 more death gems from temples. Right now, we are getting the 9 plus 1 from the temple, so we're getting 10 death gems a turn, which will allow us to push out those 2 centurions a month. But right now we're building an acolyte to help us with that. So now let's jump to turn 3. So let's view this battle of our first one hitting this Indy province. So let's pause just for a second. So they do have a priest behind, and just heavy infantry and infantry. It's nothing crazy here. So unfortunately with that priest going to be in the banish line, but again with those fear checks you see how quickly they're routing by turn 6, and then everything is live. We lost more troops. I was just spot behind. I'm going to think 5. We lost 3. None of the centurions. Again, these ghosts will die, but this is not bad at all, especially with a priest there. Got those in that crossbow fire and hoping there was some friendly damage as well. So we also had an event in Lemuria, province income 10. I honestly do not know if that income can be removed as you're doing the pop kill of it. My assumption is yes, that it's just added to. But still, plus 10 gold. We're already in the 60s, so not much. But there is that, but still a benefit. So what are we doing with this turn? The first thing I did was turn on the actual province names. And the reason why I do that is, especially in late age, you can see 3 provinces away from your dominion, which is very useful with trying to find out where your opponents are. And looking around, we do have one down here, Erythia. Let me make sure. I believe that is a nation. I'm not very familiar with, with late age. Most of my experience is in middle age. So we do have a bordering AI nation down here. Looking through, and we also see Ulm. So we know Ulm is to our west and quite close by. I saw Zogs and I was wondering if they may have Zogs before we could get death mages. So, but I was planning on expanding anyway. We already saw this out. It's not a bad income, and wanted to keep going around our cap circle. So we're taking these 2 commanders over here. Oh, and we also, I missed this. What her ability? Tie skill. Great. Not going to complain about that either. So the setup is very similar to what we just had. Not changing the setup at all. Having the faster ones in front, and then the 2 centurions in here, and we have heavy cow. So since we're not seeing priests, still moving up. I think now, after playing some games, I'd move them further back, just in case they had priests, and because we're not needing to rush or anything, we can still hit. But we want the centurions to help take the initial blow. They're usually going to be fine taking that first hit with high defense, high protection, especially, well, and this isn't a magic site, but point still stands, and then have the ghost weed in on it. And then what our mages are doing is summon those centurions for our next site, or our next battle. We got a sloth, or a swooth, if you will, of ghosts. We have plenty of ghosts for our next expansion, so we are set to do it. We also look to see about recruiting, so we don't have quite enough for a palisade, and we look to try to recruit 1 commander to make one. However, if you notice, we only have 10 resources here, and this takes 23, so we wouldn't even get one next turn either. So this was a little rough to see. We do have some crossbows, but even if we started building one, we wouldn't. So my hope is that this province will have an Indy commander that we can build to help us with palisades. If worst case scenario, what we can do is bring one of our centurions down, but really want to start those, especially if we're going to be at enough gold for it. So let's end the turn. This is turn 3. Yep. So let's go to turn 4. So we made some 2 Centurions. We see Ulm has now made a profit as well. And then let's see how this battle went with the heavy calves. So I'm going to pause it here. They did have a priest. So yeah, again, if I do ever, I would definitely brought this back, because what I'm imagining, the heavy cow may get to us in time, but that priest is far enough that I think we're going to be right against their blessed line. Or their banished line, I should say. So they take the initial hit, and yep, they're hitting our banishments right here. So, but we have, their morale's already going hit. I think our Centurions did fine with that initial cavalry charge. They did. Alright, so routing the heavy calv. Some ghosts getting escaped through. Let's go ahead and speed this up. Infantry route. And everything's good. That went a lot better than it could have. I really expected to lose more being right there. We lost just 4 ghosts, which again, I would say is great against this province of heavy calv with a priest as well. So we took Rika, and as we just saw, they did have scouts. So when purchasing my first scout, I want to go ahead and get a palisade ASAP. So this is, I'm keeping track of Ulm. Ulm has not mentioned or has not said anything to me, know where they are. So I wanted to see about going ahead and grabbing this middle province and seeing about keeping the structure and getting palisades built up between us, and then focusing around. So with our 2 Centurions, we have a lot of ghosts, and we brought a good amount of these ghosts. Similar structure that you've seen that we did for the first 2 provinces, and taking over Zoc, the area. And seeing there's not Zocs here makes it a little sad. We're bringing these up to Lemuria, north of Recap, and the reason why is these have a lot less ghosts. So seeing this seems like a pretty easy province compared to this one, and wanting to get our cap circle in line instead of going straight into the water, that is the plan. And this province doesn't seem that good at all. So the other thing I did not mention is, as we're taking province, we're dumping 1 PD, and the reason why is you get the Acolyte with 1 PD. Let's talk just slightly about what you get with the Acolyte. 20 hit points, Ethereal, Chill Aura, and again, Bless themselves with deep, like looking at this defense on a mage with life drain, there's nothing to scoff at. So even if I pump this up, let's say to 6, you're still really getting an Acolyte with some infantry. This is your main unit, and if you go too high, you're going to HP round. So keeping it low is still a threat just by themselves, and you're not spending a ton of income on it. Now, we'll bump up that PD, especially if they are going to be another neighbor is going to be close to the nation, but want to keep those low right now as we're trying to save our treasure and our income. Keep that in. So what our mages are doing is making some more Centurions and keeping that production. I'll probably be doing that for a few more rounds, but until about turn 7 or 8, because I want to keep sending out expansion parties to keep growing right now. But we have these 2 fights going out with more Centurions and plenty of ghosts to support them. So let's do one more turn and close out turn 5. Alright, so made some more Centurions. Let's look at these battles. So the first one was that low PD. They have a priest and heavy calv and heavy infantry, but it doesn't seem too scary. Again, have the Centurions take that initial hit. They seem good on that. Banishment's coming on. We're already seeing one of them take damage. But the first heavy calv went. Now the heavy infantry went from the fear, and we rout them. Not many losses, I think, maybe 2. Yeah, but I would say this is as clean as you can with what is happening here. We could have sacrificed more ghosts to make sure our Centurions were good, but these are sturdy units, especially if we're moving into a magic province. Let's look at Zox. This was a little bit heavier. So similar formation in a priest and crossbows here. So we're wanting to get melee, but in that banishment line though, we're deep into it. Now we just want to kill these as quick as possible to get through. Fortunately, the Centurions are in the back, but now they're up here and they're starting to rout. It looks like, I want to watch that again. I think some ghosts got in to kill that priest. Go ghosts. Now it doing better than their commander. So after these heavy infantry, do these slide over? Yes. And they nailed that priest. Great job. They were many losses all now. So, two really good fights here as well. Let's see what we got with this commander. Tough, more hit points. This is really good, especially if we keep this one around. We'll probably throw a shroud on it, getting already up to 37 hit points to get that spoiler regen with our pretender. We haven't talked about pretender design yet, but if you notice from the scales, my thought is with Lemuria, you want someone up because someone's probably going to be gunning for you for a first war. You really can't stay in prison. So let's finish out this turn. So after the Zogs, grab this PD and moving south. Ulm still hasn't taken their cap circle. And this is when Ulm also reached out to Discord to talk about being aware of Lemuria and what their intentions were. I went ahead and brokered a nap with them, and one thing I noticed while we were in discussions is Atlantis is north, so we kind of make the three human players kind of make this triangle between us. Now, Ulm wasn't aware that Atlantis was when we were talking about when we were agreeing to a nap. We agreed to a nap too, and I was playing dumb, saying let's just keep these borders. So my plan was to take Jane Keep, which is kind of between us, two provinces away from each of us. So in the middle, but I said, why don't I take Jane Keep and not go any further west, not worry about Shadowland or this one I'm not even going to try to pronounce. And then, and you can go north that line, knowing Atlantis was there. So Trey will be a little bit underhanded, but he was not. It does not seem that he was aware. So he agreed to this. So this was kind of our border split, and I was fine with that because I imagine he is going to come across Atlantis, and I'm keeping this way. Atlantis, as I've learned in my other game, and go ahead and talk through it, looking at the nation is quite scary with Lemuria. These ice warriors, ice guards, are just they have magic weapons. So they're going to get through your ethereal. And as a reminder, let me just go back to our nation of ghosts, our pitiful, I will say fleshy ghosts. We have 0 protection. So a magic weapon are going to be cutting through ethereal. They get through this defense skill, they're dead. It's not. They're going to just be a butcher for ghosts, if you will. So I am quite worried about Atlantis and securing a nap with Ulm. I'm hoping that can have them do more fighting, but I'm not going to draw attention to myself here, staying below. So wanting them to have it. But we did secure a nap 2 with Ulm, and because we did, and Ulm has no way really into water until they get vampires online, I'm grabbing these water provinces. We made no agreement to water, and so I'm going to, as we have these, to extend our peace, I may turn them over once they're ready for it, but I want to go ahead and start diving into water, especially with this group here. 40 crossbow and heavy cav, I'm not sure, and I'm kind of worried about this, and I don't want to just extend myself too much. So jumping in water and bringing in my next expansion party over here. So what do we have? Similar that you've seen before, but plenty of ghosts, 2 centurions up front. Shouldn't have an issue with this province at all. And I think we saw both. Yes, we did. And with our first expansion party that we covered, continuing to go east. We also have man. So we have 2 NPC nations here, and then 2 player nations on our left. So west, player, east, NPCs. Still wanted to grab these provinces as we go, and keep still making 1 PD. So what are our mages do? Making more centurions, still pushing. and we take the rest of ghosts. So the next one might not have much ghosts to bring, but we're going to be making at least one more expansion party, since now we have 3 going out, making a 4th. What are we doing with infrastructure? We started our first palisade. We're getting another scout. Again, our first one didn't have anything. We're getting a scout here. And with Zox, they don't have it, but they do have more crossbowmen. So we're going to be hoping to use these two to have scouts, and then really hoping that we'll also get a priest to build temples, but if not, we're going to be able to use our acolyte that we made as well. So we'll go ahead and stop it there before we take up and start getting some spice between Atlantis and myself, as we uncover very quickly that we're all neighbors. But anyway, thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.